I never thought the people closest to me would be the ones to break me. My wife, the woman I trusted more than anyone, betrayed me with someone I never imagined, her own female boss. And while I was drowning in disbelief, my teenage daughter was quietly watching, quietly collecting, quietly preparing. What began as heartbreak turned into a storm that none of us saw coming. Because in the end, it wasn't me who delivered justice. It was my daughter, and her legal revenge destroyed them both. Life has a strange way of giving you comfort before ripping it away. For years, I thought my marriage was unshakable. My wife, Sarah, and I had built a life together, raising our teenage daughter, Emily, in what felt like stability. Sarah had just started working at a high-powered law firm, and I was proud of her. She had always been ambitious, always determined to climb ladders that most people wouldn't even dare to stand under. First, everything seemed normal. She came home late, yes, but that was expected. She said her boss, Linda, was demanding but brilliant, and that working under her was an opportunity of a lifetime. I supported her, believing in her career, in her drive. But slowly, small cracks appeared. Sarah grew distant. Conversations that used to flow easily became shallow exchanges. She guarded her phone, she smiled at messages that didn't involve me, and she smelled faintly of perfume that wasn't hers. Still, I tried to ignore the warning signs. You don't want to believe betrayal lives under your own roof. Emily, however, noticed more than I did. At 16, she was sharper than I gave her credit for. She saw how Sarah's eyes lit up when Linda called. She noticed the excuses, the overnight meetings, the weekend work sessions, the late-night drives. I brushed it off, convincing myself it was just the pressure of the job. But children see through lies faster than adults. And Emily wasn't just watching. She was documenting. At the time, I didn't know what she was doing. I didn't know that each late-night absence, each whispered phone call, each unexplained expense was being carefully noted in a little notebook she kept hidden away. I didn't know that every message Sarah failed to delete, Emily quietly screenshotted when her mother left her phone unattended. Meanwhile, I kept trying to hold the family together. I cooked dinners that went cold waiting for Sarah. I sat through evenings where the silence between us grew louder than any argument. I told myself she was tired, stressed, overworked. I told myself we were fine, but deep down, something inside me already knew and was breaking. The breaking point came one evening when Sarah came home late again, claiming she had been with colleagues. But Emily had already seen the truth. She had tracked her mother's location through a shared family app, one Sarah had forgotten existed. She hadn't been with colleagues. She had been at Linda's house. When Emily told me, I felt my stomach collapse. Still, I wasn't ready to accuse Sarah outright. I wanted proof, undeniable proof. Emily, however, had been building a case stronger than anything I could have imagined. She showed me screenshots, texts between Sarah and Linda, messages that left no doubt about what was happening. They weren't just colleagues. They weren't just friends. They were lovers. Intimate words, plans for secret weekends, promises that left me hollow. It was betrayal in its purest form. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was doing it with someone who held power over her, someone who had become deeply entangled in her life and career. And the more I read, the less I recognized the woman I had married. I wanted to confront her, scream, demand answers. But Emily stopped me. Her voice was steady, colder than I had ever heard it. "Dad," she said, "if you explode now, they'll just cover their tracks. Let me handle this." At first, I didn't understand what she meant. She was just a teenager. But Emily had been reading more than novels in her room. She had been studying law, fascinated by cases and courtroom dramas, dreaming of becoming a lawyer herself one day. And now, standing before me, she wasn't just a daughter caught in family drama. She was a strategist. She knew Linda's law firm had a strict code of conduct. Relationships between employees and supervisors weren't just frowned upon. They were violations. Sarah wasn't just risking our marriage. She was risking her career. And Linda, by engaging in the affair, was risking her entire reputation and position of power. Emily had gathered enough evidence. Messages, timestamps, locations, even financial inconsistencies. It wasn't just betrayal. It was leverage. For weeks, I lived in silence, carrying the weight of what I knew, while Emily prepared in the shadows. She drafted a letter not to Sarah, not to Linda, but to the firm's ethics board. Every detail was documented, every claim backed by undeniable proof. I watched my daughter, barely 16, construct a case with the precision of a lawyer twice her age. Part of me wanted to stop her, to shield her from the ugliness of it all. But another part of me knew she was already too deep, and maybe, just maybe, she was the only one strong enough to do what I couldn't. The day everything exploded began like any other. Sarah kissed me on the cheek with lips that tasted like lies, grabbed her bag, and said she was heading to work early. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the woman I barely recognized anymore, knowing what was about to unfold. By noon, the letter Emily had sent was in the hands of the firm's ethics committee. Within hours, whispers spread through the office corridors. Colleagues exchanged glances, reputations cracked, and both Sarah and Linda were summoned into a private meeting. When Sarah came home that evening, her face was pale, her eyes red from tears. She didn't need to confess. The silence screamed everything. She had been caught. Linda too. Their affair wasn't just personal anymore. It was professional ruin. The law firm moved quickly. Linda was suspended pending investigation, her shining career reduced to scandal overnight. Sarah faced immediate consequences as well, her job hanging by a thread, her name whispered with disgrace. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt devastation twisted with a strange sense of justice. Betrayal had burned me, but it had also lit a fire that my daughter carried forward. When Sarah finally broke down, admitting what she had done, I couldn't look at her. All I could see was Emily, sitting calmly in the corner, her notebook on her lap, her eyes harder than they should have been at 16. She had become both judge and executioner in a story that should have never been hers to carry. In the aftermath, our family was shattered. Sarah and I divorced, the love we once shared buried under betrayal too deep to repair. Linda's career collapsed. The woman who once commanded boardrooms was now a cautionary tale whispered behind closed doors. And Emily, my daughter, walked away changed. She was hailed as clever, even brilliant, for what she had done. But behind her sharpness, I saw the weight she carried. At 16, she had already learned how cruel betrayal could be, how heavy justice could feel. I often wonder if she acted out of anger, out of protection, or out of a desperate need to restore control to a world that had spun too far out of line. Whatever the reason, her actions destroyed two women who had chosen lies over loyalty. As for me, I still wrestle with the silence left behind. I lost a wife, gained a fractured sense of peace, and watched my daughter step into a role no teenager should have to play. Sometimes, late at night, I replay it all and ask myself, was justice worth the price we paid? And maybe that's the real question for anyone who's been betrayed. When the people you love most break you, does destroying them ever truly heal the wound?